For this video, I will be talking about Super Punch-Out!, an entry in Nintendo's successful boxing series Punch-Out!, and an updated version of an arcade game also titled Super Punch-Out!. The premise of Super Punch-Out! Is that the player plays a nameable boxer in the World Video Boxing Association, WVBA for short. The protagonist fights in circuits, each of which consists of 4 fights, the last of which is against the champion of the circuit. I will now talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is accessible and smooth, while the overall gameplay is deep and engaging. The play control consists of 4 basic punches, 4 special punch attacks, 2 side dodges, 2 blocks, and a ducking maneuver. The 4 basic punches are varied in terms of strength and speed, giving the game depth and strategy. There is a power bar at the bottom of the screen which fills up with each successful hit and goes down with each hit taken. If the bar is full, the player can use one of 4 special punch attacks. This power bar adds depth and makes landing hits and dodging attacks feel rewarding. The 4 special punch attacks are varied in terms of strength and speed, are fun to use in their own ways, and add depth and strategy to the game. In addition, landing hits with any special punch attack is very satisfying. The dodges and duck are fast and smooth, and successfully dodging or ducking an attack is very satisfying. The guarding is simple to do, and 2 great conveniences are that the player can hold up for continuous face blocking, and keep their fingers off any button or direction for continuous body blocking. The player wins matches either by KO or TKO. In this game, a KO is when the opponent fails to get up from a knockdown within 10 seconds, while a TKO is when the opponent is knocked down 3 times in the same match. The TKO condition is great for the pacing of matches and the pacing of circuits. Watching the protagonist jump up and down after winning a match is satisfying, especially against a champion, in which case the protagonist also faces the camera, raises his hand and shouts, "Right on!" The screen at the end of a circuit is also satisfying thanks to the protagonist's pose and the brief triumphant song that plays. The opponents can also win matches by KO or TKO, and win the match if the timer reaches 3 minutes. The time limit adds intensity to the matches and also helps with the pacing of matches and the pacing of circuits. The game keeps track of time records for each individual opponent and keeps track of point totals for whole circuits. These records give the game a great degree of replay value. Further adding to the game's replay value is the time trial mode, wherein the player can fight against individual opponents instead of whole circuits. This mode is great for 2 reasons. Firstly, it allows for a player to try to get a better time against an opponent without playing the opponent's circuit, and secondly, it allows for a player out of practice to conveniently practice against an individual opponent. The gameplay is made even better by the colorful and detailed graphics, which go well with a comedic over-the-top boxing game. Speaking of graphics, the protagonist being translucent during matches allows for a well-executed behind-the-back perspective. The translucency means the protagonist does not obscure the view of his opponent. In addition, it allows for the protagonist and the opponent to stand at reasonable distances from each other, adding to the sense of immersion. The music is also good and goes well with intense fights and with the over-the-top attacks. I will now talk about the opponents. The opponents are well drawn, expressive, and greatly varied in terms of design and attack pattern. The variation in attack pattern increases the fun of learning an opponent's tells and learning when and how to dodge or block. Each opponent is fun to fight in his own way and has over-the-top attacks to go well with the comical atmosphere of the game. My favorite fights are against the circuit champions. Instead of talking about the final circuit as a whole for my final scenario talk, I will talk about the final opponent, Nick Bruiser, the champion of the special circuit. Nick Bruiser is intimidating in terms of appearance, personality, and fighting style. To give an example of how intimidating he can temporarily incapacitate one of the protagonist's hands. His high difficulty and the complexity of his fighting style make him a great choice for final opponent and a fun opponent to fight. I will now talk about the ending. The circuit completion screen after the special circuit is more satisfying than after the other circuits due to the special circuit easily being the most difficult circuit, and due to the high difficulty of Nick Bruiser alone. The credit sequence is great because of the excellent song befitting the end of an intense boxing circuit, and also because of the great retrospective consisting of quotes and clips of all of the game's opponents. The final screen, which depicts the protagonist standing strong while Nick Bruiser lies on the mat, is very satisfying. Overall, Super Punch-Out remains a great entry in the Punch-Out series due to its accessible yet deep and engaging gameplay, colorful and varied opponents, over-the-top attacks, and excellent replay value. That concludes my review of Super Punch-Out. Take care.